Hello and welcome to this Greater Birmingham Chamber of Commerce Q&A. I'm Emily Stubbs, Senior Policy and Projects Manager at the Chambers, and I'm joined this morning by Dr. Alina Patelli, Lecturer in Computer Science at Aston University. Welcome, Alina.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you for participating. This Q&A is part of the Chamber's Future in Technology campaign, which aims to support local businesses in maximising opportunities related to technological development and digital access. The purpose of this Q&A session is to provide firms in Greater Birmingham with information on how they can upskill their workforce in order to boost digital skills and unlock some of these new opportunities. So Alina, just to sort of kick us off, from your perspective, when we talk about digital skills, what does this encompass?
Digital skills as an umbrella term is about using technology to produce value. And it's probably useful to go into a bit more depth into those two keywords. Technology is something that people engage with at a level of their choosing, particularly for companies looking to upskill their workforce in the digital skills domain. Then they can choose to either train their people to become programmers, to produce technologies that will later on in the pipeline produce new insight into client data and better ways of managing contracts, or they can choose to become users of existing technologies, leverage what's already out there in the digital market in order to enhance the way they do their business, how they engage with their stakeholders, and how they produce value for both themselves and their customers. When it comes to value, there are several levels of grain that apply. We can either think of value in immediate terms, that means the profit that a company will make by enhancing their processes. And as an educator, the facet that I always think about is the long-term value, the one that companies get in subtler ways by having a more experienced professional workforce that's not only capable of producing deliverables now or next week or next month, but also well trained in identifying and applying and building and improving, why not, the technologies that are best suited to solve problems in the long term.
Fantastic. That's a brilliant overview. The skills landscape can be quite confusing sometimes for businesses to navigate. What mechanisms are there out there and what support is there out there for businesses that are looking to increase digital skills in their workforce, whether it's, as you say, that kind of producing new digital technologies or the skills to effectively or most effectively use existing technologies?
One thing that I'd like to touch on before we go into support mechanisms is a preconception, let's call it that way, that some have when we are talking about digital skills. Some will make a direct association between digital skills and AI and machine learning and all those tools that have a checkered reputation. And this ties into the level of support available out there to navigate the digital skills landscape from an ethical perspective. Surely there are a lot of resources out there that employers and companies in the local Birmingham area and beyond can use in order to decide what fits best with the needs of their workforce. But whether it's easy to do that ethically, so to select the kind of digital skills development path that will lead them to a place where they can increase value for society in a betterment of society kind of way or not, that is a more difficult question. So the layers of support that are available out there, and some of them take care of that ethical perspective that I was highlighting previously, mostly have to do with trained providers like universities, established providers with a good reputation in upskilling the digital workforce in an ethical way, not only in a way that gets them prepared to apply these digital technologies, but also in a way that gets them in a place where they can apply the digital technologies for the betterment of society in a constructive way, beyond financial implications for their immediate employers. Besides partnering up with a university and enrolling the workforce in an apprenticeship in order to get them engaging with digital skills at either of the two levels that I was talking about previously, users or creators of technology, there are also partnerships between the university and local businesses in the Greater Birmingham area and beyond that are also subsidized by the government, and that employers can choose to consider when thinking about increasing the digital skills in their workforce. The term that we use for that is knowledge transfer partnerships, or KTPs. They're very well documented on the Innovate UK website, and it's an avenue worth looking into.
Fantastic. You've touched there on universities and apprenticeships. Could you tell us a bit more about degree apprenticeships and how they can support the development of technological solutions for local businesses?
Of course, degree apprenticeships are, for now, specific to the UK. It was a scheme introduced by the government in 2015. My university was the first one to start rolling those out, but since then we have been joined by very, very many other universities across the country and other training providers that are not necessarily universities. So the offer there is extremely varied, which is a good thing because there are very many opportunities to choose from. What an apprenticeship does is it helps an employer put existing workforce or newly recruited workforce through a full undergraduate software engineering program or business analyst specialism or any of the other specialisms that are covered by the current apprenticeship scheme. And you can find, or anyone interested can find information about that on the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education website, or IFATE. And all the standards for all the various specialisms, for all the apprenticeships available out there are going to be explained in minute detail. In a nutshell, how this works is these existing employees or newly recruited staff are going to go through an induction period with a university, and then they're going to go through several modules that, much like follow the traditional onset of a campus-based university degree, with the caveat that they are bespokely tailored to meet the requirements of someone already in full-time employment. So they are delivered online, most of them, with some residential blocks peppered throughout the apprenticeship, and they are practically oriented. That is the main highlight. Unlike a traditional university degree where pedagogically necessarily so, there is a very strong theoretical component, we have one in the apprenticeships as well. However, the focus is on practical value, project work, portfolio, things that deliver value to the client, inspired from a constant continuing conversation with the employers, all of those that send apprentices our way. At the end of the degree, the apprentices will hold a Bachelor's of Science degree like any other traditional university graduate, and on top of that have 4.5 years of experience of working in the industry and have that practical skill set applied in immediate practical scenarios that is so valuable, either if they want to stay in the roles that they currently have or move to different ones in their career.
Fantastic. Could you maybe give us some examples of those practical scenarios and the potential you've seen individuals and businesses unlock through enhancing their digital capabilities?
Well, one practical scenario is the immediate one. So companies are going to be able to make more money because their processes are going to be more efficient, because their workforce is going to know which technology is available out there to apply in order to solve specific problems, and how to increase the level of efficiency of not only what they do, the work that they do, but the platforms that they use. So improve their individual work and also the systems within the company that employs them. And the more long-term effect is going to be a better relationship with existing stakeholders and new stakeholders, whom are going to be drawn in by the increasing reputation of the company throughout the better value that they produce for their existing customers and so on. It's a virtuous circle, if you want. Good business becomes better business, and it attracts new business. That's the kind of potential that companies are going to unlock.
Fantastic. Thinking about kind of the sectoral strengths of the region, so Greater Birmingham or the West Midlands more broadly, are there any opportunities where you think enhanced digital skills to particularly benefit the autonomy?
Well, besides the examples that I've already provided, a very useful perspective in my view is, of course, to think about sectoral strengths, but also to factor in sectoral weaknesses, because these are the ones where we have top potential to make strides with digital technologies. And the one that is very dear to me, both personally and professionally, is environmental sustainability, which is a perfect application domain for improved digital skills. And just to give you one example, in Birmingham, the city is collecting copious amounts of data, and I'm sure that applies beyond the borders of the city, about traffic flow through certain areas of the city. They also measure the concentration of microparticulates in the air and so on. We're all familiar, most of us are familiar with the Clean Air Zone project and all of that. Now, think about the kind of advantage that it would bring to the table if the workforce processing those sorts of data had the digital skills, or had the opportunity to improve their existing digital skills in order to correlate the kind of information that they get by analyzing traffic data, traffic volume through junctions, let's say, and the sometimes counterintuitive, not so obvious connections between those readings and the concentration of pollutants in the air. And what good would that do? If we bring in technology into the decision-making mechanism, then those subtle counterintuitive correlations could be used to provide support when making decisions such as new road layouts in order to fluidize traffic and to improve road safety by bringing down the accident rate. And decisions around rethinking the perimeter of the clean air zone. How exactly should that be drawn out in order to increase air quality and reduce pollution? That's the sort of environmental sustainability goal that would increase the position that the sector has and the nation has towards reaching net zero goals, for example.
Exactly, and it links really well to your point earlier about kind of social betterment and the role of technology in not just improving decision making or processes within businesses, but actually having a broader impact on society. Finally, if you could give one piece of advice to a business, perhaps a local SME looking to boost their digital capabilities, what would that piece of advice be?
Start looking into apprenticeships as soon as possible, and also knowledge transfer partnerships. I would recommend those two pillars as the fundamental components of any digital skills campaign that the businesses would like to engage with. On the apprenticeship part, there's guidance on the IFATE website that I mentioned before. The highlight that I'm going to mention about apprenticeships is that they are already paid for. This is money, the part of the tuition fees for all the employees going through an apprenticeship program. That money comes from taxes anyway. So if it's not used for the apprenticeship, to be towards the apprenticeship pot, then it would be paid as tax anyway. So it's something that's already there. It's being written off as tax as we speak. So why not use it to build the workforce in the process? And the other avenue, the knowledge transfer partnerships, those are well documented on the Innovate UK website. And in that area, there's going to be a KTP Knowledge Transfer Partnership Associate that's going to be recruited as part of the application process. So that's new workforce, new employees coming into the business and helping the company attain their digital goals, whichever those might be. The main difference between a KTP and an apprenticeship is formative, so it builds the skill set of either existing staff or new staff, whereas a KTP is more problem oriented. It might suit other businesses, particularly SMEs, better than an apprenticeship, depending on their portfolio. That starts with a problem that's important to the business that they want to fix in the short to medium term. They can't wait for 4.5 years for someone to go through the full apprenticeship to become skilled, even though they're going to become skilled faster than that. But to start producing the value at their maximum potential, maximum capacity, they want something that's done in 12 to 18 months. Then the KTP is the way to go in that case. So start looking at those two options. You'll find others, of course, and then get a conversation going with a university, whichever provides an offering that's best tuned with the company's needs, and get these employees recruited or existing employees put through either apprenticeships or some other form of digital skills development route.
Fantastic. That's a very thorough overview of I think digital skills and the opportunities available here in Greater Birmingham to upskill your existing employees, but also to get new skills into the business, to look at how you can improve processes and decision making and unlock all the opportunities associated with technology. Thank you ever so much, Alina, for joining us this morning.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the invitation.